Thank you for joining us today for the Conform to Christ podcast, where we seek to engage the mind, affect the heart, and call people to follow Christ. I'm Jay Jones, and I'm here with George Mays. Giorgio Mays. How's it going?
What are you doing over there?
Daylight.
Knocking things around?
Yeah.
Made both of our mics move.
I didn't knock your drink over.
You didn't drop my...
Good.
Yeah.
How's it going? Daylight saving time Monday.
Ugh. Yeah.
Not a fun day. No.
No.
I heard this thing. Let's see if you have heard it before too. About like, living a long time ago before daylight savings time, like pre-colonial era, that people would just go to sleep when the sun went down. So like 5:30, they would wake up about midnight. They would study the Bible or do some other stuff privately. And then after an hour or two, they'd go back to sleep for another 4 hours.
I've heard that before.
That's interesting. Never heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring back the old ways.
That could be kind of cool. You think about it. I bet you get a ton of stuff done in the midnight hours.
Go to sleep at 5:30 though. You think you could? You think you'd go to sleep at 5:30?
Maybe if I was
sleep for
I
7
bet,
hours.
I bet if you had like a physical job, like you're working all day, doing labor, I bet you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed.
Let's survey Zach. Zach, you think you'd go to bed at 5:30 at night? Yeah.
I'm up around midnight.
Right.
I think then, because there's no like artificial light sources,
Right.
like to mess up your chemicals in your brain. Like
Yeah.
the sun goes down, I bet you just naturally got tired.
You got no phone or TV to keep you up either.
Yeah.
There's no screens.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I just thought that was interesting. That's why they come here to these little facts.
Is that why they?
Just little random facts.
I keep wondering.
How much else did they not tell me? That's what I always wonder when I hear this
Yeah.
in history classes. These are the things that I wanted to learn about. Yeah. Well, we're back in Genesis, so you want to grab your Bible. Go to Genesis chapter 16. Looking at the whole chapter today. Whole chapter, not a long chapter.
Oh, 16 verses.
I like how you presented this text. I know you were worried about it, and but no, it was great. I think the way that you presented it was really good, and four acts, like a play, as the narrative unfolds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we jump in, is there anything else you want to chit chat about, or you want to jump right in?
You've been watching any of the World Baseball Classic?
No.
Oh, Jay.
I haven't. I didn't watch any of that, and I did not watch any.
Well, I guess I have nothing to talk about then.
I didn't watch any of that or ShepCon. I didn't watch any of ShepCon.
I've been seeing like little blurbs about ShepCon, but I haven't really paid much attention.
So I was texting with my buddy, old Patrick Latham.
Yeah.
He went,
Okay.
and he said, I said, let me know what do I need to listen to? What are the best? He said the best were Washer, H.B. Charles, Piper, and Reeves.
Okay.
So I'll be listening to those four.
Okay.
Yeah, Reeves is always gold, man. Nope, hardly anybody knows about Reeves, though. But I guess it was really good.
Yeah.
They had to wake Piper up to get him ready to preach.
That's
maybe.
right. That's right.
That's okay though. I mean, he's older. Let the man chill out and sleep. Wake him up when it's time to go.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find this.
The picture
of this picture. Yeah. The Washer one was getting a little bit of criticism.
Yeah.
Everything that I've read from his sermon was really good. I mean, he was talking about churches that are kind of personality driven, yeah. And then you have your personality die. I don't know if he was. I mean, he was obviously there. The whole theme was MacArthur. I don't know if he was.
It was like
taking a jab at him, or
it was like their honoring him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know I think maybe he was giving them a brotherly rebuke because honestly, like by now, with the level, they have plenty of like godly men that are very capable preachers there. A couple of them that are, I think, are better than the rest, just in terms of natural gifting that God gives. They're just very good.
Yeah.
And they haven't named anyone to replace him yet. And I know the church is struggling because of that financially. Like they're, it takes money to make a big ministry go around. They support a ton of missionaries all over the world, tons of church plants all over the world and in America. I think they need to have someone just for that stability.
Right.
Like the church needs it. The ministry needs it. So yeah, I don't know why they're waiting so long.
Yeah. I was actually pretty shocked that they didn't have someone lined up before he died. I mean, he'd been out of the pulpit for a year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He did go after like the celebrity kind of culture. Like he talked about how, I mean, he's well known. I don't think that he's ignorant of that.
Right.
But he's also been preaching for a long time. And he was talking about the different big name people who are older men who have been doing this for a long time, but now he said you can just get like a seminary degree and then do a podcast, and
now you're popular.
Now you're popular.
Right. Yeah.
And that's not healthy. And I think we can see that. That's not healthy. There's a lot of younger guys who are more famous than I think they're ready for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've seen that. And I always scratch my head. They'll like talk about something on their podcast, like they just discovered this greatest thing in the world, and like that's like baby Christian stuff you're talking about, and you're talking about it like you made this profound discovery. You know what I mean?
Right.
Have you seen stuff like that? Yeah, very odd. Yeah, that's it. He does have a lot of good things to say. I think the critique that I've heard the most for Paul Washer is he blends law gospel too much. He doesn't have a good law gospel distinction.
Yeah.
But in his writings, he definitely maintains a good law gospel distinction. I'm pretty sure he even has a book on it.
I think so.
But how it comes across in his preaching can come across as like law heavy, I think.
Right.
Sometimes. So, but he definitely preaches the gospel every sermon. I'm just trying to understand, like, where it comes from and is it valid? Like he took a lot of heat for what he said. I guess he said to MacArthur on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Very Puritanesque, though. That's the type of things Puritans would do and struggle with, but not all of them. I can't remember what Puritan it was that I was reading when I was studying in Romans chapter 8. There were two men. They were very starkly different. It was an illustration. I need to get a better system of like cataloging these and keeping these. I didn't even use it in the sermon, I don't think. But one was doing the Washer thing, like.
So Washer, I guess he talked to MacArthur. What? How soon before, like in the hospital?
Yeah, I guess.
Asked him how his Bible reading is. How's his prayer life?
How's his communion with Christ?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and so people saw that as like an introspective deal, and on your deathbed, you really need to be thinking externally, which I agree with.
Yeah.
So these two men, one of them was, as some of the Puritans were, they were shaky on their security, some of them. And this guy was very insecure on his deathbed. I can't remember his name, but there was another one. And all he did is whoever came to visit him, he just asked, read Romans 8 to me. That's what I told you. That's what I want you to do for me.
Yeah.
Just read me Romans 8 so I can not think about myself. I can think about Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be. You should examine yourself, test yourself to see if you're in the faith. But I don't think that's something you should be doing every day. I don't think that's healthy.
Mm.
That's not a healthy thing. Like, hey, that's a constant questioning, struggling when there's got to be like a security, a stability to which you can build and grow on.
Mm.
Like if you're living in sin, you should obviously examine yourself. Like that's from Corinthians, right? That's written to a church that's
right.
They got some sin problems, so of course he wants them to examine themselves, test themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But like I wouldn't come up to you and be like, George, you haven't been examining yourself today, testing yourself to see if you're in the faith.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do that every day. Like that builds insecurity.
Yeah.
Trust in Christ every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like cling to his promises of what he says every day.
Right.
Yeah. So there you can get unbalanced. Yeah. So I think for the most part though, with Paul Washer is he stings because he hits the mark so often.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the critique lies.
Yeah.
Because he really has a finger on like the pulse of the reform movement.
Yeah.
And so he can hit things that need correction.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't like that. Because there is a lot of unholy living in the reform world, I think.
Right.
And he can hit it.
Yeah.
And he does. So.
Here's a picture of John Piper that was snapped at ShepCon. Yeah, there it is.
And then Paul Washer brought him a copy of his own book, Delighting in God.
That guy is pulling the old Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, he is.
The inauguration photo that Bernie Sanders had.
He has to save all his energy for when he preaches.
Probably. He's probably exhausted. The guy just turned 80.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because he
does a workout.
He leaves it all.
He does.
He leaves it all on the court.
He does. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to that. Yeah, even though people, they critique Piper on everything under the sun as well.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. It's like in the reform world, they want a perfect man to be like the This is our reformed pastor. Look at him; he's perfect in every way.
Yeah.
Like these are just men.
Right. Well, that was an excellent segue, Jay, into the sermon because I have encountered people who have looked at men like Abraham, and they have viewed everything that he's done as this is good because Abraham's a righteous man and that he's not sinning.
Wow.
I have heard someone from pulpit going back to Genesis 12 where Abraham gives Sarah away. He lies about Sarai and that it wasn't wrong for him to do that.
Very wild take.
Yeah. But it's a deficient view of what it means to be righteous. We're righteous by faith, not by our works.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we see. That's what we see with Abram and Sarai.
Yeah. This was good. A good sermon, and I really liked how you brought out the truths that are there. They're just laying there on the surface for you to see, but we just skim through them. We'd miss them often. Yeah, as we're reading Old Testament stories.
This isn't one of those chapters that you spend a whole lot of time on. It's situated between two mountain chapters. Chapter 15, where God cuts a covenant with Abram, and then chapter 17 with the sign of the covenant, circumcision. And these are big chapters that have taken up a lot of pages in books. You got chapter 16 in the middle, and it's not discussed very much.
Doesn't get a ton.
I mean, I can say that about my own studies. I haven't spent a whole lot of time in this chapter until I had the study for the sermon.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really interesting and I would say some convicting things in this chapter.
Yeah. So there are two big truths you wanted us to get out of this. The absolute sinfulness of your own sin and the lack of faith that we're prone to living in. And then, but also you want to see the magnitude of God's grace towards sinners. And both are revealed here in very unique ways, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's this one big truth you said is going to unfold in 4 acts. Let's see if I wrote it down correctly. When it seems that God is slow to fulfill his promises, be sure he hears you and he sees you in all of your afflictions.
There it is. Yep. Almost word for word what I had.
There we go.
Yep.
Very good. So when it seems slow, and most people can identify with this. You started with waiting. Where's God at when we're waiting? Sometimes we're just waiting, and waiting could be whatever. And I think pretty easy connection because our church has a lot of young people in it waiting to have a baby. Some people just get pregnant by looking at each other. And then, you know what I mean?
Right.
It seems. But then
I'm pretty sure that's what happened to Abram and Hagar here in this chapter.
Yeah. But others will sometimes go a long time, not be able to, and it could be just very discouraging. So I know it was really relevant probably for a lot of people in our church.
Yeah.
Immediate connection. When you say when we wait, there's opportunities there for us to fall into this lack of faith, and sin can come and all kinds of things. So we're going to move through this in 4 acts.
Yeah.
Before we jump in, though, I guess let's read it.
Okay. All right, Genesis chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. She had a female Egyptian servant whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, "Behold, now Yahweh has prevented me from bearing children. Go in to my servant. It may be that I shall obtain children by her." And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. So after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her servant, and gave her to Abram, her husband, as a wife. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, she looked with contempt on her mistress. And Sarai said to Abram, "May the wrong done to me be on you. I gave my servant to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May Yahweh judge between you and me." But Abram said to Sarai, "Behold, your servant is in your power. Do to her as you please." Then Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her. The angel of Yahweh found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" She said, "I am fleeing from my mistress Sarai." The angel of Yahweh said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit to her." The angel of Yahweh also said to her, "I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude." And the angel of Yahweh said to her, "Behold, you are pregnant and shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh has listened to your affliction. He shall be a wild donkey of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he shall dwell over against all his kinsmen." So she called the name of Yahweh who spoke to her, "You are a God of seeing." For she said, "Truly here I have seen him who looks after me." Therefore the well was called Be'er Lahairoi. It lies between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the name of his son whom Hagar bore Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. And I don't know why. Oh, it froze up on me there for a second.
Oh.
Yeah, so I had to switch over to...
Very, very good. You know what, George? I think we're all impressed that your like Jewish lineage. It becomes apparent when you come to all these Old Testament words, and they just roll off.
They
the
just
tongue.
roll off the
they
tongue.
Just roll right.
You don't know how long I spend in my office
practicing.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it just came natural to you.
I wish.
Huh.
You don't say whatever.
I don't just. Oh my goodness. Just shrug my shoulders and like,
Oh my. So Act 1 is Sarai's barrenness.
Impatience.
Okay. All right. Can't
Just
remember.
a little distracted there at the one I said. Oh.
She's barren.
She is barren. Yes, she is barren.
Verse 1.
That's the cause of her impatience.
She has no children.
Yeah.
That's telling you what this whole thing is about.
Yeah, we go. I mean, it takes us back to our introduction of Sarai in chapter 11. She was barren; she had no child.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and we have to remember to read this in light of the promises that we've read in 12, 13, 15. Yahweh has told Abram, I'm going to make you into a great nation. I'm going to multiply your offspring like the dust of the earth, like the stars of the sky. You're not going to be able to count them. And here's a major problem. His wife can't have any children. She's barren. She's had no children.
Yeah.
So that sets up this entire thing. Right.
But she does have a good understanding that I think we need to take to heart is she has a correct understanding of who ultimately is sovereign over children.
Yeah.
And she makes that profession that God has not allowed her to have a child.
Yeah, she makes a theological statement. It's a true statement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Yahweh has kept me or prevented me from having children. This is an idea that we'll see in Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca, it even says that God opens her womb.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that suggests that he closed it also.
Right.
Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
her womb's closed. It says very clearly that when Yahweh saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb. And then later on, after Leah has had a bunch of children, he opens Rachel's womb. We see it with Ruth. We see it with Hannah. There's a God who stands sovereign over childbearing.
Yeah, her husband gave her a double portion, right? Because God had closed her womb.
Yeah. Now, so what Sarah's saying is true, but we don't want to boil everything down to just sterile theological statements. Anyone who struggled to have children knows that this isn't. You're not just thinking to yourself, "Well, God closed the womb." It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know the pain and the sorrow of that, of the struggle of trying to have a child, knowing that God is sovereign behind this, also gives opportunity for our impatience. Our sorrow can turn into bitterness very, very quickly, and our theological statements can just as easily turn into reasons for us to question or accuse God. And that seems to be what Sarai is doing, is accusing God. Like, God promised that Abram would have a multitude of descendants, and yet he's closed my womb.
Right.
And so you have to remember, Sarai she's a real person. We're reading her story in print, but she was a real person with real emotions, and real sin. And this seems to be what's happening, is that her heart is bitter.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a solution.
She's got a plan.
There's a plan. Yeah. She has an Egyptian slave, which this brings us. There's a lot of there's callbacks. I think this story is supposed to stand in parallel to chapter 12, verses 10 through 20. Back there, God's told Abram to go to this land, but then there's a famine, or we could say barrenness. So in chapter 12, there's barrenness in the land. In chapter 16, there's a barrenness in his wife. Both of these are obstacles to the explicit promises that God has given to him. In chapter 12, Abram, without any direction from God, goes down into Egypt, right? There's no indication that he asked Yahweh, what am I supposed to do here? He just takes the initiative and goes down into Egypt. When he's on his way to Egypt, he concocts a plan, right? You're beautiful, Sarai. The people of this land, they're going to see that you're beautiful, and they'll kill me in order to get you. And so he comes up with this scheme. Tell them that you're my sister. And he thinks that by doing this, he'll be able to escape. We'll be able to get out of this, because they'll have to come and ask me for permission to marry you, and I'll I'll hold them off until we can make our escape. Seems to be the plot. Well, here, the parallel, no children. Sarai understands that God has kept her from having children, and so she concocts a plan. What's interesting is that it's because she has a female Egyptian slave. We learn that Abram acquires male and female slaves from Egypt in chapter 12. Hagar is probably one of them, and so we see how one plan, it's like dominoes. Like you see the effects. It just keeps happening. This is now going to be part of that story. Sarai has a female Egyptian slave named Hagar, and she's going to concoct a plan to have children. Right? You all right over there? Daylight savings time.
Yeah.
You just got to shake it off.
Trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this would not be out of the ordinary for the time and the customs of that time. That's one thing you brought out of the text.
Yeah, sure. Her plan is take my servant Hagar, have sexual relations with her, and maybe through her I'll have children. Or literally it says maybe I'll be built from her. The word build and children sound very similar. And this was culturally acceptable. There are ancient Near Eastern records. I think even in the Code of Hammurabi, there's allowance for this. If a wife can't have children, she is legally allowed to buy a slave, and the slave becomes a surrogate. There's debate over whether when Sarai gives Hagar to Abram as a wife, maybe that word plays double duty, and she's actually a concubine, which we see that all through the Old Testament. This may have been an early word for concubine. It may have just been the same word for wife. But this was culturally acceptable. Like we think of it as, well, that's really gross, but culturally, this was allowed.
Yeah,
and we'll see it with Jacob, with Leah and Rachel. Leah and Rachel have like childbearing competition. Like, let's see who can have the most kids. Right? God opens Leah's womb and she has a bunch of kids. Rachel's barren. So Rachel gives Jacob her nurse, maid, servant to Jacob as a wife. And then Leah, and then she has kids. And then Leah's like, I'm too complete at this game. And so she gives Jacob her servant also. And it's just a big mess. But we see that this was something that was allowed in this culture.
Yeah. And our culture like looks down on that, like, oh, we're so much more morally superior to them. But our culture does it just in a more sterile way.
Yeah.
Right. They'll rent a woman's womb into a contractual obligation with a person.
Yeah.
Which makes them an indentured servant, by the way.
Yeah.
Until that has been completed. But they'll do it in like a sterile way. And
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It just is minus the sexual relationship.
Yeah.
Like the physical relationship is separated.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I would say that, I mean, just because it's culturally okay doesn't mean that it's okay. Right.
Right.
And I mean, we there were a lot of rabbit trails that I had to really rein in while I was working on this, because I was thinking about things like IVF. I mean, there are embryos that have been there's eggs that have been fertilized and then frozen until the couple decides that they want to have a baby. And what happens to the rest of them? They're just frozen. They're just in stasis forever.
Yeah.
Or they're discarded.
Yeah.
Like children are just being thrown away. but this is all culturally acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just because the culture says that it's okay doesn't mean that it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, culture is not untouchable just because, well, it's their culture.
Yeah, and it's also accepted because it's kind of hidden behind well,
medical stuff,
and they want to have a baby. Like
Right.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Having a baby is a good thing, but then
Right.
you have frozen babies
Right.
forever, or they're just like you said, thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's definitely, I would think it's unethical.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it can and sinful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you throw your babies away
Mm-hmm.
on purpose,
Right.
even if it's you never see them and it's clean and sterile, that doesn't make it morally right.
Right.
But it's been swallowed wholeheartedly by the evangelical world. So they'd be like, "You guys are, how are you to condemn people that just want to have children?"
Right. Well, Sarah just wants to have a baby here.
It could be done. It can be done in an ethical way, though, if they would do one at a time.
Yeah.
But they don't because it's very expensive to do that. So they do it in mass production.
Right.
If you do one at a time and have one implanted in your wife at a time, okay. And
only fertilize as many eggs as you are willing to have children.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but it's not done that way.
No. Yeah. I mean, we could say the same thing. Well, Sarai just wants to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that good? Didn't God already say that Abram was going to have a child?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so easy for us to rationalize, right?
For a pragmatic people, which we are in America,
right?
May sound like even a good idea.
Yeah, we look down on Sarai as if, well, this is so gross and so wrong, and we're just completely ignorant of all the gross, wicked things that we do just because it's culturally acceptable, and we may have good intentions. I think this is where like the phrase toxic empathy plays a role. Like, well, you hate families that you hate couples that want to have babies. Well, no. Like, we want to have compassion on them, but just because they have good desires doesn't mean that you just do whatever to accomplish those desires. That's what Sarai's doing. She has a good desire. She has even good theology behind this. Like, God's the one that's prevented me from doing this, but he also has given these promises. She's not acting outside of her theology. She's just trying to help God along.
Right.
He's taken too long. So, I mean, we learn later, it's been 10 years that they've been in the land. Abram is 85, which means Sarai's probably about 75. And they aren't getting younger. Like, they're only getting older. If the promises are going to happen, then
they need to happen pretty quick.
We got to do something.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to do something here.
There are textual clues, though, that this was sinful and a bad idea.
Yeah, we're not just looking at it and being like, it's gross.
Yeah.
So it's wrong. This isn't subjective. It's presented to us in a way that we're supposed to say, this is wrong. Like, what they're doing is actually sinful.
Yeah. And there's ties back to the garden.
Yeah. If we've been paying attention in Genesis, then we've seen this grammar before. When you get to the end of chapter verse 2, and it says, "And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai." If you're paying attention to Genesis, a light bulb should go off, and you'd be like, "I've heard that somewhere. Where have I heard that?" Well, if you go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, to Adam, God said, "Because you have listened to the voice of your wife." It's almost the exact same grammatical construction. We're supposed to be connecting what Sarai is doing with what Eve was doing.
Yeah.
Down in verse 3, as we keep going, it says that Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her servant, and gave her to Abram, her husband, as a wife. The words "took" and "gave" again are a callback to Genesis chapter 3. Eve sees the fruit. She took the fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband. It's just, they're the same verbs. We're supposed to be seeing Sarai as a new Eve, and in both of their circumstances, the motivation behind both of the women is the same. Eve wants to become the source of truth. She wants to. The serpent comes in and says, God knows that if you eat of this fruit, you'll be wise. You'll be like God, and you'll know right and wrong. Right? You'll know good and evil. And she sees it, and the sin is already there. Before she eats it, the sin's already there. She desires to accomplish God's purposes her own way. She doesn't need God. She can do this herself. Sarai's doing the same thing. She sees a problem. God doesn't seem to be doing anything, and so she does what's right in her own eyes. Well, God's not doing this, but I've got this servant here. I can take her and give her to my husband, and we'll accomplish this. And there's not a thought for God. She's not saying, well, let's see if God wants us to do this.
Right.
She's just doing it. Right. So we're supposed to see these. They go hand in hand. They run parallel to each other. Eve, Sarai, both sinners.
What would you say to people who would object? They'd be like, "Oh, George, are you saying that men should never listen to their wives?"
Yeah. No, that's not what I'm saying. This isn't a proof text for not listening to your wife. It's usually a pretty wise thing to listen to your wife. But what do we see Abram doing in this story? Not much of anything. He's like Adam.
Yeah.
He's a new Adam. If Sarah is a new Eve, Abram's a new Adam. When Eve is talking to the serpent and she takes the fruit and eats, it says, and she gave some to her husband who was with her. It's the marriage relationship is flipped on its head, where the husband's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the wise leader. The wife is supposed to help the husband, but instead the wife takes everything into her own hands, and the husband is just passively there. And that's what happens here. Abram doesn't have any. He's not doing anything in these first 3 verses. It's all Sarai. Sarai's the one who she takes and gives, and Abram just listens to his wife. Instead of being a godly leader who is believing God's promises, and rejects Sarah's act of unbelief, he should have said, "No, this is not what Yahweh wants us to do." But instead, he is a passive. He's a passive husband. That's a sin that guys struggle with. Like, we can be passive.
Yeah.
And there are wives that can be domineering. Husbands and wives need to be in their God-given roles. And the wife is given to the husband as a helper. Well, if she's your helper, then you probably should listen to her and receive wise, godly counsel. But where she's suggesting you do something sinful, as the leader, you should say, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. But the relationship is topsy-turvy because it's Genesis 3 all over again. Right.
Yeah. So that's Act 1, Sarah's impatience. Then we got Act 2, Hagar's pride, starting in verse 4. So he listens. He goes into her, then she conceives. It appears pretty easily, and Hagar responds in a prideful way, where she begins to look on her mistress as with contempt.
Yeah. Yep. This is it's a sad, sorry passage, but it's also kind of funny because Abram takes a second wife at his first wife's suggestion. Like, this isn't Abram. Abram doesn't go to his wife and say, "Hey, how about I get a second wife?"
Right.
The story might turn out a little bit different if that had been the conversation. This is Sarai's plan, and it works. Like, just because it's sin doesn't mean that it won't be successful. Don't gauge whether it's right or wrong by success. I think a lot of churches do that. I'll just call them out. Life Church.
Yeah.
Craig Groeschel, the founder of Life Church, he's gone on record saying, "Well," and I've seen this parroted by other churches that are kind of the same style format as Life Church. We'll do everything short of sin to get people to Christ. Well, how are you gauging what's sin? Then they'll do, church at the movies, and they'll do all the, they'll play secular music in the service, and it's how do you gauge what's sinful and what's not? Don't gauge it by what's successful.
Yeah, by what works. Yeah.
Yeah, don't gauge it by what works, because Sarai's plan, it works. She gives Hagar to Abram as a second wife, and it works. Hagar becomes pregnant. That's the plan. But when Hagar finds out that she's pregnant, she becomes conceited. She looks with contempt. You can imagine her being smug. Like, here's Sarai. She's 75 years old. She's been married to Abram for a long time. And Hagar immediately gets pregnant.
Yeah.
Like, it ain't hard, Sarai.
Yeah.
Right. She hasn't learned the theological truth that it's Yahweh that opens the womb. And so Sarai goes to Abram and says, "May the wrong done to me be on you." Right? It's like, okay, what's happening here? I gave my servant to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. It's like, wasn't this your plan?
Yeah, right.
Like, what have you done, Abram? I gave you this woman so that she would be impregnated, and now look what you've done. She's pregnant. But isn't that what we do? I mean, I think there's still echoes of Genesis 3 here. What do Adam and Eve do as soon as they're confronted with their sin?
Yeah, they deflect blame.
They start blaming other people. Right. Yeah. Well, it was the serpent. Well, it was the woman that you gave to me. Right. Yeah, it's the same thing. She's hurt, she's jealous. She probably has a lot of fear that Abram is now going to prefer Hagar instead of her. That she's going to be usurped, that she's somehow going to be lowered, lesser in Abram's eyes. The word that she uses, that the ESV translates as wrong, is the word Hamas. Which means violence. Mostly peaceful protest out there in Israel, right? Yeah. Hamas, violence, this violence that's done to me. And she lashes out. That's what people do. Like, when you're confronted with, she has instant buyer's remorse, right? She's like, oops, maybe this wasn't such a great idea. But you can't unscramble that egg. Right. Yeah. And so she blames Abram. This is all your fault. She might even be paranoid that Abram is siding with Hagar, that he's encouraging her to be insolent. And so she appeals to God. She appeals to Yahweh to judge between them. This is such a mess. His new wife is acting conceited against his first wife, and his first wife is angry, and she's calling down imprecatories on his head. And it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. And what does the godly man do? Well, she's still your slave. She's in your power. Do whatever you want. Like eye roll. Right? Yeah. Like, what is happening here? What is so shocking? And I think we miss it when we disconnect these as just isolated stories. Chapter 16 follows chapter 15, where Abram's been declared righteous. Like, is this what righteousness looks like?
Right.
But it is a reminder that Abram is declared righteous by his faith.
Right.
He's not declared righteous because he is actively being righteous. Right.
Right.
He believes the promises of God, and God forensically says you're righteous. He justifies him. And this is not for us to throw up our hands and be like, well, we're just sinners. What are you going to do? Like, we should be pursuing holiness. And we'll see this. We're going to, we'll keep going into 17, 18. We'll see that Abram has his ups and downs, but he is a godly man. Right? But this should be an encouragement for us in our ups and downs, that we're justified not by our works, we're justified by faith.
Right.
But when he's confronted with, his angry wife, he does what a lot of people do when they face confrontation. They roll over. They're passive. He's a coward here. He chickens out. He shifts the responsibility away from himself. He's the leader, right? Like, he's the head. He's the one who should be dealing with the conflict. Instead, he's like, well, Sarah, you can do whatever you want. And so Sarai does.
Yeah. Yeah, and that takes us into the third act, right? Act 1, Sarah's impatience. Act 2, Hagar's pride. Act 3.
Before we go to the third act, what's really interesting in this is the connection back to chapter 15. Because when Sarai deals harshly, that's how the ESV translates it, deals harshly, it's the same word that's used back in 15, verse 13. There, God tells Abram, your offspring will be afflicted in a foreign land for 400 years. So Sarai is afflicting Hagar. In 15, it's a prophecy of the Exodus, the enslavement of the Hebrew people in Egypt, where they'll be afflicted, and then God will rescue them. But the irony here is that it's the Hebrew woman who is afflicting the Egyptian slave, and she flees out into the wilderness. And who does she meet out in the wilderness? The angel of Yahweh.
Yeah.
Right. Hagar is like the Egyptian prefigurement of what's going to happen in the Exodus.
Yeah. If you read it too quick, you might think, well, she kicked her out.
Yeah.
But no, she just mistreated her so badly that she runs away to escape being mistreated.
Yeah.
So she runs away toward.
She's not. Sarai and Abram they're not bringing blessings to the nations, right? This is their purpose. Their purpose is to bring blessings to the nations. And 2 times now, the Egyptians have suffered because of Abram and Sarai's sins.
Yep. So now Act 3 then is Yahweh's compassion. She runs away out into the wilderness, but she's headed back home
to Egypt. Yeah,
she's headed back to Egypt.
Yeah,
which this would be a bad state because she is without a husband or a protector, and she's pregnant.
She's a runaway slave.
So she's not going to be able to just go back home and find a man.
Right.
She's going to end up destitute.
We don't know what Sarai was doing, but it was bad enough that she was willing to run
and risk her life.
A single mother, a single pregnant woman who is also a runaway slave. She was a slave in Egypt. Like, she's given to Abram and Sarai as a slave. So it's not like she's got a strong family support.
Yeah,
back in Egypt. But she's running.
Right. Yeah. Through barrenness,
through wilderness.
Wasteland.
Yeah. This is so she's on the way to Shur. Shur is the wilderness of Shur. You can see it on if you have a map in the back of your Bible, it probably will have the wilderness of Shur on it. This is the northwestern Sinai Peninsula. So she's making her way back to Egypt. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to really bring out, because we hear, like, she is this afflicted pregnant woman. She is a runaway slave. And I think a lot of people immediately, they are like, well, she is the victim in this story. And in a lot of ways, she is. Like, she doesn't have a choice in all of this stuff. I mean, she could have said, no, I'm not going to do this with Abram, and then face the consequences. I mean, she's a slave, but she's just kind of being bounced around. She's a pawn. right?
Yeah, and they never use her name.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't call her Hagar. They just call her my servant, your servant. Yeah,
Yeah.
they never use her name.
It's a way of like, I think what it's showing is she's been dehumanized.
Yeah, she's just a tool. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's just a piece in Sarai's plans, right? However, she's not innocent. Like there's not just two sinners in the story. There are three. We know that because the word that's translated as contempt, my servant showed contempt. It's the word that is translated in chapter 12, verse 3. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you or shows contempt, I will curse. So she's in the place of someone who is dishonoring the Abrahamic family, right? And so she's experiencing the consequences of that, right? So just because you're in a marginalized position doesn't immediately make you righteous. Right? You may be sinned against, and you may be in unjust situations. You're still responsible for your own sins. You can't say, well, this happened to me, so I can do this in response. We like to justify our sins, and this story doesn't allow us to do that.
Yeah.
Like, sinners are responsible for your sin, no matter what unjust situation you might be in. We can look at this in the New Testament with Paul's instructions to slaves in the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Like, they're not supposed to be bad slaves. Even if you have a wicked master, you're supposed to be a good slave.
Right.
Which doesn't sit well with, 21st century Americans.
Yeah. While we're slaves to our masters in the corporations and and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So she finds a spring of water, a well.
It's called a well in verse 14.
Sure. And there something miraculous occurs.
Yeah.
The angel of the Lord appears.
Yeah. Angel of Yahweh shows up. We talked about this with the last sermon that I preached in Genesis back in January. I think this is Jesus. This is the pre-incarnate Son of God. All the evidence points that direction. She calls him God. The text itself says she calls Yahweh who's speaking to her.
Right.
Like, the angel of Yahweh is himself Yahweh.
She recognizes who she's speaking with.
He's not a created being. We have to be really careful about, angel just means messenger. So the messenger from Yahweh, who himself is Yahweh. When we know who that is.
There's plurality.
There's plurality.
You can't be
in Yahweh.
a messenger from someone if there's not plurality.
Right.
The second person is the sent one.
He's the sent one from the Father.
Yeah.
So here is the Lord Jesus in his pre-incarnate form appearing to Hagar. And he asks her a question that I think is also reminiscent of Genesis chapter 3. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 9, I think, again, probably the Son of God walking in the cool of the day in the garden says, "Where are you?" Right?
Yeah.
Well, here he says, "Where have you come from and where are you going?" Again, not a question out of ignorance. Neither in Genesis 3 or here is God asking a question because he's somehow lacking the information. It's a probing question. In Genesis 3, it's meant to draw out of Adam, where am I? Like, how did I get here? Here it's the same thing. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? It's a probing question for Hagar,
right? And
it's meant to get her to consider, where am I coming from and where am I going?
It's a very shallow objection that people will say, well, look, God doesn't know stuff, that's why he asks these questions,
right?
Like, but how many times in counseling do you already know the answer to the question, but you're not asking the question for yourself, right? You're asking the person the question so that they have
to think about it.
They have to think and reflect and then answer it in this, find the answer as they're answering. what you already know, right?
We do it with our kids all the time.
Yeah.
What have you been doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I already know exactly what my kids have been doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Jesus did the same thing with his disciples.
Mhm.
They're arguing about who's greater.
Yeah.
And when they get to the house, he's like, "What were you guys discussing on the way?"
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
as if he hadn't heard. It's to
Yeah.
get them to stop and consider.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what he's doing with Hagar. And he, the next thing he says, she tells him, I'm running away from my mistress Sarai. And in verse 9, he says something that I think would rub a lot of woke people the wrong way.
Mm.
He tells her to go back.
Right.
Return to your mistress and submit to her.
Mm-hmm.
That probably strikes us as really odd.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of thoughts about slavery. I almost went on a rant in this section. I took it out. I put it. I have like end notes in my sermon outlines,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept it in my at the end just in case. But it's like, doesn't God know that she's a slave? Like, why would he tell her to go back into slavery?
Mm-hmm.
And you already brought it out. We like to import our own morals. Like we think that we have the moral high ground. Well, we don't have slaves. And we just completely overlook all the other wicked things that we do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the ways in which we're slaves also. Like we're very quick to be like, well, slavery's wrong. Everyone knows that slavery is wrong. And then we butcher, hundreds of millions of babies
Mm-hmm.
in the womb.
Right.
Well, at least we don't have slaves.
Right.
We don't have slaves, but then there's a whole generation of young people that are enslaved to pornography, which is shown to be fueled by sex slavery.
Mm-hmm.
like there are people who are enslaved literally, and people find enjoyment online watching them.
Yeah, it is weird to think about. Like, you look back at kind of like the era where you lived on land that was never yours, and you worked for a lord.
Uh-huh.
You farmed your whole life, and then you died. And they're like, "Look, you may not have been a slave, but they were slaves." But what did they get? Well, they got safety and protection, and they got all the food they could ever want to eat, and they had a ton of leisure time to spend with their family, and they lived quiet, peaceful lives. And we look at them like they're slaves. Meanwhile, in America, you work your whole life.
Right.
You might not ever own your own house. Some people will own their own house.
Even when you own your own house, if you don't pay taxes,
You'll pay taxes forever.
Yeah.
You'll live and die probably in a small area, and you'll never accumulate great wealth, and you'll work for other people your whole life.
Yeah.
It sounds very similar.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
It's just shuffled around a bit.
Right.
But that's just the way that we look back at.
Slavery is just a reality in this fallen world. It just is. Yeah, the forms change, but slavery is a reality in this world. And we live in a fallen world where people enslave other people in one way or another. Like, we're all enslaved to something. I mean, how many people have credit card debt? You think that you're free? You're not free.
Right.
The Bible explicitly says that the borrower is a slave to the lender. Right.
Yeah.
We just like to think that we've got the moral high ground here, but I didn't bring all that out in the sermon. I thought that maybe it was a little more than what needed to be said in that situation.
Is there anywhere on earth where you could live and be totally free?
Antarctica?
Yeah, I'm wondering, like,
where?
Alaska?
Philippines?
For taxes and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Very low for like owning a house and everything.
Yeah.
And your wealth can be actually transferred generations, unlike here.
Okay.
If you actually build wealth here,
Yeah.
and then you die, your inheritance is going to be like half. The government's just going to take everything.
I don't know if anyone heard that. We need to mic you up, Zach. Yeah, Philippines. We're all moving to the Philippines. That's long story short.
Maybe like Alaska, like deep woods, Alaska. But I mean, like, can you survive a year?
Right.
Maybe you could. Maybe you're a really good survivalist. I guess you could live out there for as long as you could survive.
Yeah.
But then you're not around any people.
Right.
Yeah. But back to the text.
He's telling her to return to your mistress and submit to her. And we immediately say, well, that seems like God's unjust. But this is actually grace. And it goes back to that question, where have you come from and where are you going? We have this culture where we somehow believe that we never have to do hard things. Like if marriage gets too hard, just get a divorce, right? Like I don't even know if people even bat an eye at divorce anymore. Like,
no, that's usually the first answer to problems.
I mean, you get pregnant, you're not ready for a baby, or you've got plans. It would be too hard to complete school or whatever. Get an abortion. I mean, we live in this culture where if something gets hard, there's always a way out. And God calls his people to do hard things and experience injustice. One of the things that I was thinking about as I was looking at this story, when he tells her to return to your mistress and submit to her, there are worse things than slavery. Like slavery is not the unforgivable sin. We somehow in America, because of the transatlantic slave trade and the way that the Africans were treated here in this country, we elevate slavery to like, this is worse than anything that could ever be done to anyone ever.
Usually ignoring the fact that it's gone on all over the world in every single culture on all time. There's a pretty funny clip where those guys, what's their names? They have that podcast where they're two comedians. One of them is Korean, South Korean.
Oh, Bad Friends.
Bad Friends, yeah. And he's like, Koreans never owned slaves. And the other guy's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, they did.
Let's Google it.
Google it. So they look it up, and it says
the longest
running unbroken chain of slavery in the history of humanity was done by the Koreans.
Right.
And the guy's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. But think about it. Hagar is running away from Abram. She's running out of the promised land. If we're paying attention to Genesis, that's never a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's not good to leave the land. She's leaving the promised land. She's heading to Egypt. That's another clue that this isn't great. And what's there? What's in Egypt? Well, we've already talked about her being a runaway slave who is a pregnant single woman, right? That's already, the odds are already stacked against her. But we're thinking surface level. Mm-hmm. We got to go a little bit deeper. What's in Egypt? Paganism, idolatry. She's running away from the only source of blessing is with Abram in the promised land. And she's running away from it. Mm-hmm. What God is telling her to do is return to Abram, return to the promised land, even though it's unjust, even though it's hard. This is where God is. Yeah. Salvation lies with the God of Abram, not with the gods of Egypt.
And he gives her promises of future grace that he's going to give to her and to her descendants.
Yeah. Yeah, he gives her 3 promises. She's going to have a child. She's going to have a son. This is the first enunciation in the Bible, a birth announcement. You'll have a son. You'll call his name Ishmael because God has heard you. And that's what Ishmael means, God hears. So go back. Sarai's affliction isn't going to have the final say. You're going to have a son. God's heard you, and he's going to bless you with this child, right? The language that's used, I'm going to multiply you. I'm going to multiply your descendants. That echoes chapter 13 and chapter 15. We have to be careful. This isn't covenant language. There's no sense that God's entering into like a new covenant with Hagar or Ishmael. Ishmael is, we're going to talk about Ishmael some more. He shows up in 17. He'll show up again in 21. He's separate from the covenant people of God. You talked about it in Romans. But God's still going to multiply them because they're connected to Abram. And through Abram, all the nations will be blessed. I'll bless those who bless you. Like by Hagar going back, she's going to be part of the blessings. Ishmael is interesting. God promises he's going to multiply him. In chapter 17 and chapter 25, we read that Ishmael has 12 princes. It's like he's a shadow of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll be a wild donkey of a man. He'll be stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't, on the surface, sound like a blessing. But this means that he will be untamable. He won't be enslaved. Like he won't. I mean, that's the whole reason that. I mean, it's the slavery is going to be broken.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's not going to be a slave. He's going to be in conflict with those around him. He's going to dwell over against his brothers or in opposition to them.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be strong and hard to contend with,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not going to be a slave.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these are evidences, they're promises of grace that God's going to give to Hagar and to Ishmael because of their connection with Abram.
Right.
And Hagar believes.
Yeah.
She believes the promises. So she calls the name of Yahweh who spoke to her. That's interesting by itself.
Right. Yeah.
This is the angel of Yahweh is Yahweh, and she calls him, "You are a God of seeing." Interesting that phrase is it's debated. It could mean you are a God who is seen,
Mm-hmm.
which that's interesting also.
Right.
Many commentators I read said it's probably both. Like you, based on what she says about Be'er Lahai Roy, the place. You are a God who I've seen, who sees me.
Mm.
Right. And she says, "Truly, I've seen him who looks after me," which is another interesting phrase, because it could be truly have I seen the back of the one who sees me.
Mm. Yeah.
Which could be, it's been suggested that there's a grammatical connection to Exodus chapter 33 where Moses sees the back of God.
Mm-hmm.
And then she calls the well Be'er Lahai Roy, which means the well of the living one who sees me.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like Hagar is an interesting person. I'd never really taken time to study her. She is an interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
She recognizes who the angel is, which by itself is really fascinating. This wasn't even in my notes, but as I was thinking about it, you're standing up there and you're in, like, I don't know, you're in the zone, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're preaching, but at the same time you're also like thinking. One of the things that really struck me as I was doing that is we never even ask, why did the angel of Yahweh appear to her? Like we just so casually think, well, yeah, of course this is the first place that the angel of Yahweh shows up in the Old Testament. Under that title, this is the first place, to a runaway Egyptian slave. And we don't even pause to be like, that's odd.
Mm-hmm. Right.
As if he just shows up to everyone in the Old Testament.
Right.
Like he just shows up to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he showing up to her? This is so unusual. Like we should hit that verse 7 and be like, that's strange.
Yeah.
Like he just shows up to this woman.
Well, I think you brought out how Muslims claim they're like she's their lady, right?
Yeah.
Ishmael's their patriarch.
Yeah.
They think he's the real child of the promise.
Right.
But I think instead of looking at, like, is she a special woman? The thing to think is, what it reveals is that the most destitute and lowly human beings on the face of the planet, God sees them and is aware of their afflictions. Mm-hmm. He's not absent. And he's grace. He's filled with grace and compassion toward the least of the people on the planet.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what we see, that God is a God of
in connection with
unbelievable grace.
In connection with Abram, God shows grace to Gentiles, and that's the whole story, right?
Right.
That's the whole story of redemption. Is that even this Gentile woman who is, I mean, she's the bottom of the bottom, right?
Right.
Like a woman slave, single mom, like she's the bottom of the rungs.
A goyim.
Yeah, goy. She has no future. Yet God shows her this grace and tells her to go back to Abram because that's where the blessings are.
Yeah, you get those little nuggets like all throughout the Old Testament, and that God cares about the Gentiles.
Yeah,
and He's gracious to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're all over the place. These
Yeah.
little characters that appear, some of them massive characters.
Yeah.
in the unfolding of the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's the only person in the Old Testament to give a new name to God. She calls him Elroy, the God who sees.
Yeah, yeah.
Other people they give, and she gives a name to a location. Everyone else gives names about God to a location, like Bethel.
Yeah,
the house of God.
Yeah,
right. She's the only person who gives a new name directly to God. She calls him, "You are Elroy." And then, really interesting, in all the Old Testament, she is the only woman that God addresses by name directly. And talking to people, I think maybe that got muddied. He says the name of other women in the Old Testament. Like he says Sarai's name in chapter 18. He's just not talking directly to her. He says her name to Abram or to Abraham. Hagar's the only woman that God addresses by name directly to her face, talking to her in all the Old Testament. And not just the Old Testament, in all the known ancient Near Eastern literature, this is the only place where a deity addresses a woman directly by her name.
Yeah,
that is. I mean, that's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I mean, out of all the ancient Near Eastern literature, the only place where a deity directly addresses a woman to her face, talking to her and says her name, it's here in Genesis 16. And we just kind of skim through this chapter on our way to something more important.
I think it stands even in greater contrast when you take into account that they aren't calling her by her name. Like they're treating her like a
Sarah and Abram don't call her Hagar.
Yeah. And it's just dehumanization. But then God calls her by her name. By her name. Yeah. I think that's very significant.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she responds, right? She believes.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't a throwaway chapter, right? Like this, it reminds us of who God is, like in his astounding grace. And we just kind of skip over it. But in a way, I think Hagar prefigures the Samaritan woman at the well. Like here's the woman at the well in the Old Testament. Here's the woman in the well in the New Testament. And in both places, pre-incarnate, incarnate, Son of God, appeared to these women. And it's an act of grace. People kept asking me, well, is Hagar a believer? It'd be really hard to argue that she's not.
Right. Yeah.
It'd be really hard to argue.
Yeah.
Especially based on that parallel between the Samaritan woman and Hagar. Jesus comes to both of them and shows, just pours out grace on the lowest of the low. Like the Samaritan woman, like she's at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, they consider like Samaritans like dogs.
And here's a woman who's had 6 husbands.
Yeah.
She's living with someone. She's going to the well at the hottest part of the day because no one's around. She's a social outcast. She's a pariah. Yeah. And Jesus meets her. That's the same with Hagar.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So then Act 4, Abram's reminder. So it does appear that she's believing because she obeys. She goes back.
Yeah, she goes back. That's verses 15 and 16. Yeah. She goes back.
Yeah.
She goes back, and she obviously tells Abram because Abram names the child Ishmael.
Mm-hmm.
She obviously told Abram what Yahweh told her, and he believes and obeys.
Yeah. It is, what's really interesting to think about the name, and you mentioned it. Every time that they would have to say his name, this baby be born, and Sarah would have to say his name, she's going to be reminded of the things she forgot, which got her into the problem. It seems she's not believing. She has forgotten God sees me in my trials and afflictions. And now she's got to say it.
She's got to say, God hears.
Yeah.
Every time she says Ishmael, anytime she sees him, thinks about him, Ishmael, God hears.
Yeah.
It serves as a rebuke for Sarah and Abram's unbelief, but it also serves as an encouragement. God hears. Because where have they gotten by the end of this chapter?
Right.
They haven't gotten any closer to having a baby. There's another baby now. There's another woman with another baby, and it's caused conflict. But a year has passed. Abram is now 76. Sarah is probably 70. He's 86. She's probably 76. There's still no promised son. But in God's grace, there is a son God hears. And that's going to carry them through 17, 18, until we get to 20 and Isaac.
Right.
Yeah. But even though there's grace, there's still consequences. There's another woman, another son. There's conflict. There will be conflict again with Ishmael. And then just long-standing consequences. Many Arab people consider Ishmael their patriarch. But more importantly than that, Muslims consider Ishmael to be the promised son, not Isaac. And so they believe that it was Ishmael who was promised to Abram, that he's the one that Abraham was supposed to sacrifice, that Ishmael is the model of righteousness and obedience. He's considered a prophet. It was Ishmael and Abraham who supposedly built the Kaaba, the cube in Mecca, the holiest site.
Which is interesting because archaeology shows that the Arabs were worshiping their pagan deities,
the moon god,
long before Muhammad ever came along.
Muhammad is considered to be a direct descendant of Ishmael. So the conflicts that we see nowadays between not all Muslims are Arabs, and not all Arabs are Muslim, but theologically, Islam is in conflict with the Jews, and really with the world, and it stems back to this story. How little do we think about the consequences of our sin?
Right. Yeah.
Like, if there's ever proof of the butterfly effect,
right,
it's Genesis 16.
Yeah.
Right. Such a small thing. Like, we think so little of sin, and here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are in 2026, and still consequences. Still consequences. But we can pray that the same God who appeared to Hagar would appear to the Arabic people, to Muslims, that the Spirit would open their eyes so that they would see the living God who sees them. This reminds us of our sin, the sinfulness of our sin, but also of just the astounding grace that God has for his people. And it's an encouragement. We see Abram with his ups and downs, sometimes really low, real down. But they're still believing the promises.
Yeah, and their sin doesn't hijack God's promises. His promises to Abram, and as we'll see, though she's going to laugh about it, and God's going to tell her, "You're going to have a baby,"
and the name is going to be a reminder of that also. But both Abraham and Sarah are in Hebrews 11 as people of faith, and that's a good encouragement for us. We often, I think, faith is often presented as we never sin, like it's always up, And I think that's why a lot of people struggle with assurance so much, is that they're looking at themselves instead of remembering the object of their faith.
Right.
Abram believes God, the word of Yahweh who comes to him, right? He believes Yahweh, the word of Yahweh, and it's counted to him. It's reckoned to him as righteousness. What we'll see next week in chapter 17 is that it's a righteousness by promise. Right? God promises him a righteousness that is by faith in the coming Son of God.
Yeah, very good. All right. So how many more do we have real quick?
Probably 5.
5 more?
Yeah.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks, George. It was a good sermon. I always encourage you, if you listen to this, please just go back and listen to the sermon. You want to do that. So be sure to come back next week as we're looking at 17, and hopefully this is encouragement to you. It's helped you to not just know facts. We want to help you to be more and more conformed to Christ, and that's the goal. We'll see you next time. God bless. Bye-bye.